Kelsee, and welcome back to the Make Life Rich Movement podcast. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
You are one of the first guests that I get to bring back from my earlier season, and I'm so excited because we are recapping on really a dream that had come to life between our last time of speaking and now. Kelsee had a really beautiful memorial dream of creating a toy store in honor of her daughter that was just so special and so monumental of a thing that the minute I saw her on Instagram, I had to talk to her about it. I really wanted to get to know more. And the episode was so beautiful. The links will be in the show notes for that so you can catch up. But Kelsee, you have had so much happen since we last spoke. Like, congratulations on everything. I remember, we'll get to the Kickstarter, but I remember seeing the post of when you made it happen and just sobbing and being like, this is so amazing. Like, God literally was carving every step of the way for you. It seemed destined from inception to where we are now. But tell us all about first what brought Hattie's into your, I guess, into your thought space to want to bring to life, and then tell us about Hattie's Toyland.
Yeah. So in February of 2020, the last week of February, I received the news that I would need to deliver my daughter stillborn. She was our fourth baby. And so fast forward, the week before COVID shut down everything, I gave birth to her and was really forced to sit in my grief during that time and process and heal. And it was like a blessing and a curse, I say, but more of a blessing, just to have the time and space to think and not overpass and, shove that down and not process it for what it was. And so went through healing journey, lots of therapy, lots of counseling, lots of prayer and questioning and all the things that grief brings. And upon although I don't think it's a process that maybe is ever complete, I think there comes a part of it where you're just like ready to find purpose in it. And you feel like you're at the place where you have capacity to find purpose. Like there were seasons where I definitely did not have the capacity to do anything but grieve. And I was just at this place where it was like, okay, like this is our story. But it's not like, I don't want it to be sad forever. Like she's my daughter and she's my children's sister. And like, we want to honor her and remember her. And so just wanted to do something that was fun and lighter and not necessarily like a heavy, something that might bring heaviness or make people sad. And so anyways, fast forward, talked through options with my counselor. Like, what does life look like now? Like now that this is my story, career wise, all my kids had gone to school and I just found myself like, okay, what am I going to do? I have this degree and I have this experience and where am I supposed to be? And had an idea of a toy store and thought it was just an idea. And anyways, just it felt very happy. And fast forward, one of my close friends knew about that. And she got a call from someone who owns an entertainment district in our area who said like, hey, Trustful needs a toy store. Do you know of anybody who'd be interested? And she was like, actually, I think I do. And so all that to say, next thing you know, like we're signing papers for a lease for a toy store and selling everything. We built our life on business wise to invest in Hattie's Toyland. And so we get to share another side of our daughter's story with our community. And ultimately, it's a toy store, but it's definitely been a very sweet place where communities being built, and those relationships like we would have never had otherwise unless they would have walked in the door to buy a toy have developed. And so it's just really sweet to see the purpose and plan, and it's very evident like the Lord's hand's been on it from the beginning. It's bigger than me, and the stuff that's happened really doesn't even make sense, and so really grateful to be a part.
Goodness, it is really beautiful, the magic that comes through even on social media like Instagram. There's such a joy and a wonder that you've created in that space, and I have to I know it was really big for you the last time we spoke, for you to always remember, the childhood joy of what would have been Hattie's life. And I think you've not only memorialized her in such a beautiful way, but you've immortalized her childhood through this space that you get to interact with every day and see other children's smiles on their faces. And I know you've been giving back and doing so much. It's just really incredible the impact you've made in such a short period of time, the community you've built. It's so special, and I have to imagine it's just a tiny bit of solace and comfort to what is your grief journey. And it feels very serendipitous that you are able to just continually keep dosing yourselves with joy every time you walk into that space. It seems pretty impossible to have a bad day in there. But what were some of those earliest moments like when you kind of were like, okay, we're going to go for this. We're going to move forward. We're going to do it. Looking back now, what was that energy like when you were deciding to start the Kickstarter and really, take this man up on this offer and open a space down in the entertainment district?
I think at first I felt very excited and honestly thought I would have a little bit more time to prepare. I had seen a friend kind of go through a similar process, and it took her a little bit due to building material, things like that came up that like the timing just looked a lot different. And so in my head, I had probably 2 years, a year, I don't know. And then next thing I know, the builder's like, oh, it's going to be ready in 4 months. And I'm like, okay, I know nothing about the toy industry. So at first it felt very exciting and like, oh my gosh, like so fulfilling. And then I definitely went through a phase where it felt very nerve wracking and like, how in the world are we going to do this? Everything is more expensive than I thought it would be. Like you hear a number and then you hear another number, and really you need to multiply that, by a lot of numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so just nerve wracking. And then as time got closer, to the build out being finished and it's time for this, just nervous. Like, this is my baby. And I'm like, I've got to protect the culture of this space. And like, who's going to do this with me? Like, no one's going to love my baby like me. And how do I even go about interviewing someone? And like, this is so personal. And um, so then we had, the interview process and found our team. And um, that still blows me away. I feel like when I think about them, I could start crying. They are so precious. And like, I did believe the Lord that I would find people who loved this space or who were gifted to be in this space. But I wasn't expecting for like their whole family to be supporters, because they didn't have to be. And he brought these special humans who I did not know any of them. And gosh, they've just locked arms with us and walked forward with us. And um, not only them, but their spouses, like the ones that are married, their spouses will come in. Like when they get off work, hey, is there anything I can do? Like as we were setting up, it's just like, what in the world? Like, it's really all like we are being able to push this thing forward. And so I don't take that for granted. Like, that is a gift, and I know it's rare. And so I think it's also just the evidence of like, when the Lord wants to accomplish something, he's going to bring the people and open the doors that need to be open to make it happen. So um, I feel like I've gone through a range of emotions. Gratitude always, but definitely been moments of joy and excitement and like, oh, this is so fun. And then like, oh my God, this is so nerve wracking. I'm not sure I'm ready for this. And then also so many moments of like, oh my God, that's why I had to learn that, or that's why I had that job, or, it's just like all the pieces coming together in this place. And consistently, yeah, seeing childhood, every day. There's like, you can't have a bad day. You really can't. Like, there's stress just like any business. And there's days where I'm like, certain things, but um, there's never been a doubt that like this, like the Lord's got this. Like, I don't have this. I don't always, but I know he does. Like, it makes no sense. Like I said, some of the sales in December and November, like no one could have prepared me. And it didn't make sense other than like this is his hand on my family and on this team and this space, and it's special to so many people, and so all the feels.
I can imagine. And it was really wonderful for me to watch your team kind of fall into the personality of the store online because so far away from you. So I'm only interacting on social. And I come from a very small town and I only really knew entrepreneurs as places to frequent until I moved to a bigger city, like outside of like, Kmart when I was little. There were no gigantic stores. And I know what it means and I know what a business needs to thrive and survive. And it's a family that is a team.
Yeah.
And it was really beautiful to see almost how effortlessly all of your team just kind of fell together in this wonderful little like cuddle puddle of joy. And you ladies just make it look like the most fun place to work ever. I think that is kind of where I knew immediately, like, wow, not only is she going to be okay, this store is going to thrive and it's going to change her town for the better. And like, I'm so excited to watch it happen. And you've already done so much in such a short period of time. I also was just so blown away by what you did with your Kickstarter campaign that kind of brought the financial aspect of this to life. We have these beautiful ideas and then we get an idea of the price tag attached. And I know that price tag was high for you. And most people would turn around and go in the other direction out of fear of where is this going to come from? But you were the exact opposite. And I remember when we first spoke, it was launching and it was going great, but it was just a little bit off the mark. You just had this gap to go and it was close to time and it was getting stressful and everyone was sharing and doing what they could. And then you made a slight pivot. And that pivot is what brought everything to life. So, could you walk us through kind of what your thoughts were before you made the pivot in the Kickstarter and then what led you to go in the direction that you did?
Yes. So, um, if you aren't familiar with Kickstarter, I know some people are, some people aren't. If you do not fully fund your goal, you do not get any of the money. And so it did not matter if we had raised $5,000 or $10,000. Like if we have a goal of $30,000, like we're not getting any of that. And so that's nerve wracking and hard. And it's like, well, gosh, these people, they've already gone through the hassle of putting in their card information. They've done all this. Like, I'm not going to re-ask them to do that again. Like, it's going to be lost. And so, honestly, I had 8 days left, I believe, when something happened. I actually had a conversation with my husband. I'm like, what do I do? Do I cancel this? Like, what I had fear like come up heavily, and it just I'm like, okay, we've had this for this many days and done this. Like, there's no way in the next 8 days we can do this. And I have a friend that is very business minded, numbers girl, and she's just a badass person. And my husband was like, you need to call Maggie, like call her and have a pep talk, do whatever you need to do, like put the insecurities aside, like you need to call her and see what she suggests. And I was like, okay, let me call Maggie. And so I called Maggie, and she was just like, oh, this is the perfect time. Like, here I am, like, all we have is this. And she's like, this is the perfect time. And I was just like, what? She just had the total opposite mindset. And so,
Mhm.
gosh, I wish I could remember it. My mind is totally blanking, but um, there is something it's actually used in the military as like it's called something. Gosh, I'm gonna have to think of that name.
It'll
But
pop up.
it's basically where like you have like she was oh gosh. I'm trying to think of the name. It's gonna drive me crazy, but
I
um
hate when I do that. I'm
I
like,
know. Basically it's like you use everything you can and like this is the prime time. And so she actually gave me a business statistic that like if something is trying to sell or a company's trying to sell something, they'll sell more in the last 7 days than the entirety of having the product. So whether it's an urgency that develops or what it like, it kind of makes it prime time. And in the military, it's almost like it's a strategy they use. Like they save things for the last 7 days, and so um, all that to say, it was like, okay, here's 7 days, and so she was like, you get on your social media and you get your stories. Like I'm like, oh, that makes me nervous. Like I don't want to talk, and I feel like a broken record, and all the things. But with the algorithm and all of that, like I think everyone's heard this story, and really 100 people have. There's like 2,000 that haven't heard anything. And if each of them gave $1 or, like
Mhm.
$10, what would that equal? And so then I also like got strategic and I'm like, okay, I'm going to reach out to local businesses. We're a small town. And for one, like I believe in small business and local businesses, but also like we do this thing together, like community over competition. And so just asked them like would they be willing to donate something that could be raffled or just something like t-shirts or gosh, one lady, she has like a meal place, so she was like, oh yeah, $250 gift card. One lady owned like a party rental and she was like, yeah, I'll give someone a free bounce house. And everyone like might need a bounce house or might need dinner, and so they're willing to pay $10 for a chance to win that.
Mhm.
And so we just got really strategic and I had to like put my insecurity aside and like know what I was digging my heels in the ground for, and just tell everyone like not out of desperation, but just out of like a strong belief of purpose. Like we believe in this and we need this. And like you also could benefit, in the
Yeah.
last 7 days. And so people were seeing that, like they were seeing people win these raffles, and they were so excited about like winning a photo session or a bounce out, things like that. And so there were even people that were so kind. I do believe there are people with the gift of generosity. And one lady, she was the first lady to ever donate to our Kickstarter. She's been a supporter literally from day one, did not know her before this. And in multiple raffles, she would donate like 5 times. So if it was $10, she would donate 50. And then in the caption, she would put for each of your children. Like, because she knew she counted Hattie and my fourth. Anyway, she's just an angel. And um, just like people are just so kind and they show up, and the Lord's hand was on that. And like, yes, it took hard work. It wasn't just like, oh, I hope it happens. Cause I do believe if I would have sat back those 7 days and not put some hard work in, like, I don't know what
Mhm.
would have happened. That's another
Mhm.
lesson in itself. But um, I knew like I had to give it my all. And Maggie was extremely helpful with motivating. And she's a great hype person to like, you dig your heels in the ground and remember why you're doing this and get it done. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And literally got off the phone with her and got on that story. And yeah,
Love
incredible.
that. Shout out to Maggie.
She's
Shout out
awesome.
to the people that help bolster us when we're feeling weak, because those are the people that we all need in our pocket. And I think it's really important to point out there that building a business takes a community, and it takes a community for instances like that where you were in, down to the wire and you had exhausted what you had at your reach. And just the simple act of just asking for help from someone and being vulnerable and open to that opened a door that, man, you kicked right through and sailed right through that Kickstarter. Not only that, you got your community engaged and excited and ready for the anticipation of just watching that rent sign come down on the glass and your decal go up on the window, and people get to see like, holy crap, that thing that we put a raffle in for, they did it. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to go in there and buy a birthday present. Like, people in small towns take those things to heart, and they know a little bit more readily than maybe, people in larger cities, that this is someone's life. It's not just a business.
Yeah.
And to have the support of your community and to have people, just dipping their toe in the water and giving what they can. I think it's just so understated that you have to ask for help and your community is willing to help you. You just, like, closed mouths don't get fed. You just got to get out there and put yourself out there and allow the action to happen with you. Maybe you're not in a place where you know what next step to take, but I think certainly being vulnerable and opening yourself up to saying to someone, hey, I find myself in a corner here. I really don't know where to turn next. Like, what is my next steps? And I think it's so beautiful that you allowed yourself to do that and that it led you to where you are. It just seems like there were just so many steps and things, as you said, like, oh, that's why I had that job, or oh, that's why I knew this person. It's like you really never know where your path is leading you. And it has seemed so absolutely serendipitous every step of the way, all the way down to it was so important to you to have a real impact in the community. You wanted this to be a place of happiness where people came to not only shop and buy presents and enjoy their toys, but you are hosting so many events. And I think what I really enjoy about the events is that it's giving children a place to come and just be a child. And we'll definitely get into the curation of your store and what you've put in it. But I love so much that you've created a safe space for childhood to remain a
Yeah.
childhood.
Yeah.
And I love that so much. It gets to be a place where, maybe they're a little too aware of what's happening in the world right now. And your store, honoring your daughter, gets to be a place where they get to remain a child. I think it's like more important than anyone is giving credit to right now. We really, really, really need to protect the innocence of childhood, and
Really.
they do not need to know about everything happening on the news or TikTok or Instagram. And
Right.
sadly, it's getting harder and harder to keep these things from them at appropriate ages. But I
Yeah.
really believe in the power of a toy store. And I really encourage people, if you have one in your hometown, you should go check it out with your kids,
Sure.
because I bet there's a lot of magic waiting there for you that, you know, Amazon might have taken out of their little mitts with a couple clicks here and there. And then it just became convenient. But
That's
all of
right.
that is to say, I'm obsessed with what you're doing. Can you tell us a little bit about what went into creating your scheduling and your programming? Because I really love the way you go about it.
Scheduling as in.
Like you have your book events, you did the bunny hop. Like I just love that you're giving opportunities for kids to come and be kids.
Mhm. So our core values are community, fun, and hope. And so we're we're gonna say yes to anything that lines up with those and say no to things that don't. And an event is the easiest way to build community. People are looking for things to do with their families, and it's just an open door. I mean, it gets them in the store. It allows us to meet them. They're excited. They want things to do with their kids. And so, anyways, I don't know. It gets them out of the house on a Saturday
Mhm.
morning. It gets them out from a screen. And honestly, it's just been the sweetest thing about the store. Like one of my favorite moments from last year, we had a Grinch story time, and my daughter dressed up as Cindy Lou Who, and we had, someone as the Grinch and all the things, and like 54 people RSVP'd for the story
Wow.
time, and I'm like, what? Like reading the Grinch, like I thought it's December, it's the busiest season. Like who knew what that was going to be? And
Mhm.
anyway, we did it an hour before the store opened and just allowed them to come in and have the story time with us. And that's probably one of my favorite memories we've had. Just reading the books and seeing the kids, like even older kids, like engaged and filled with wonder. Someone took a picture, and I believe it was one of my team members. And I didn't see this at the time, but I look at this picture all the time, and it's my son who's 9, and he was sitting, front row for me to read this book, and he's just grinning so big, and I was just like, oh. Okay, like that's some of my favorite moments, and so I believe I'll look back in years to come and like those events will be like so close to my heart. It gets
Yeah.
people in the door. Yes, it allows them to meet each other and, um, where they might not have otherwise. So
Yeah. I,
it's special.
yeah. I also love the fact that it kind of, in a way that no one's probably worried about, but you certainly are, in curating the space that you have of magic and wonder. Like we're of a certain age to where we didn't have online shopping when we were children. If you wanted a toy, you went to a toy store, if you were lucky to have a toy store in town, or you went to like, Walmart, Kmart, somewhere.
Toys R Us, yeah.
Yeah. And then you're like, that moment of knowing you're going to this place for that purpose, and maybe you get to also have like someone read you a book, like those were the greatest days of your week. Those were the things that when you get to be a little bit older, like 9, 10, 11, 12, you look back on and you're like, well, I'm a big kid, but like I'll sit here and listen to a story quick. Like it's okay. Like it's just one of those things that sucks you in and just allows them to be present and at peace. And I think there's a lot to be said about the literal customer journey of the children and what they're getting from interacting with you in your space. It's really beautiful what you've done. And I don't want to let that slip by without mentioning it, because it's easy to flop some toys on the wall and, have appropriate hours and have some, cute high school girls and things that are working at the store. They're going to be safe around children, are going to be nice. And, all those things are great, but you've gone beyond that. And it is truly what to me looks and feels like the heartbeat of Hattie throughout the space, because your mission and your purpose is so much more than it being just a retail space. And I wonder, throughout these moments where you're like, you yourself are kind of reflecting on these childhood memories that you're seeing happen right in front of you, like, does that bring you any kind of peace to know that Hattie gets to be a part of all of that? Like, she's literally woven throughout every single thing that happens in there. It feels really special for me as just a person hearing and tying this all together. But for you, I have to imagine it feels pretty surreal.
Yeah, you can get lost in the day to day and like going to work or going to the store. And obviously, I never forget like the purpose, and people constantly come in and who's Hattie, why Hattie's, that don't know the story. And so that comes up weekly. And so I'm constantly reminded why I did this, what the purpose is. Um, but you can get just in the mundane. And even this morning, actually, like I, I was driving super early because my daughter had to be at school at like 6:30, and
Ooh.
she had musical practice before school. And the sky was like, I was on my way home. We had had like some really sweet just worship music play, and a little bit slower morning than normal, which gave me space to think. And the sky was like pink. I mean, like I drove around my neighborhood to get a picture of this sky. Like it was like cotton candy and pink and purple and just looked girly. And just had a moment where it was like, like I thought of her. And um, I actually thought of her this morning because my daughter asked how old my niece would be, and they would be the same age. And so she'd be 5 in March. And that feels so big, but it's almost just like I had a moment where I saw her as a 5-year old, wild and funky and fun and like just who she is. And it was just like a sweet moment. Like, that's why we're doing what we're doing, like I'm so honored to carry on her story and share like hope with our community and doing events. Like I'm constantly reminded in different ways, um, the bigger picture, you know, of what's happening. And there's been so many sweet moments. I need to honestly write them all down, so I don't forget. Um, so many like girls who are named Hattie that love to come there because they're Hattie. And so they'll come in on their birthday. I vividly remember this family coming in. They had this adorable baby. And she just like caught my eye. They all catch my eye, but this baby like
Mhm.
caught my eye. I'm like, oh my God, she's just adorable. And I was like, hi, how are y'all? Like, good morning. And she's like, good morning. We're here. Like, I don't know if it was her first birthday. I don't remember. It was a birthday. Birthdays are a big deal. And that's also been something that's really sweet. Like I knew birthdays would be something at this store, but I had no idea like that would be our main source of business really is birthdays. Like they're going to come in on their birthday and spend their birthday money. People are going to come in and get birthday presents. Like birthdays are our jam. And Anyway, she was coming in for her birthday and she was like, "This is Hattie." And I was like, "Of course it is. Like, of course she's so perfect. Like, of course her name's Hattie." And it's just so sweet to see like Hattie, Hattie like spirit in multiple ages come in, you know, whether it's an 8-year-old that's celebrating her 8th birthday and her name's Hattie. Just what a gift, and that I wasn't expecting to see her in what would be every phase of her life. And even down to like, the busiest, you know, the holiday season was wild, wild. It was like a roller coaster. And there was one morning, and this lady had never been in before, and she was shopping, and she was shopping for her mom, who was like 81 and was at home, you know. And so
Mm.
she was shopping for her, which immediately took my attention because I do that for my grandmother at Christmas. I shop for her because she's not able to go anymore. And she was just so proud of the little things she found. And I love seeing like the unique areas of the store. And she's like, every time I walk around, I see something different. And so, anyway, she found all her stuff. And she's like, "I know you'll wrap everything, but is there any way to ask you, like, to not wrap things and maybe like provide some tissue paper?" She wasn't asking a lot. And I had a sweet girl that works for me. Like, she just really took that to heart. And like, even seeing her like delicately fold like the ribbon and put it in a little envelope and like wrote a note on it like, "Thank you so much." And she gave her like wrapping paper and ribbon and everything this lady would need, this 81-year-old, to wrap all of her own presents. And I was already moved by the story. Like, the Lord could have just been done then. Like, that was so sweet and just was a great reminder of like, this is an honor. And then we gave that to that lady, and she's like, "Thank you so much. And I just want to remind you and let you know that today you made Hattie's day." And I was like it took me by surprise. And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Hattie is my mom, and she's 81. And like, I can't wait to see her wrap these presents." And I was just like, "Oh my God, like 81
I'm
is all
done.
I get." Like, and when she said that, like, "You've made Hattie's day today," like, it just did something to me. I had to like step to the back because I was like, I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
But it just gave me a different perspective. Like, oh, like I made Hattie's day, and like this probably is making Hattie's day. Seeing this every day, and um, anyway, there's so many like sweet intentional moments like that that have just been crazy. I mean, there's someone that supports us from, gosh, another state, Indiana, Illinois. She's going to get mad at me for not knowing that. Um, and she just happened to see a picture of our ribbon cutting and asked, like, "Hey, I want that sloth, that stuffed animal sloth. Can I get that shipped?" I'm like, "Sure." Or teddy bear. So we sent it and didn't pay attention to the name, like anything like that. They obviously all have a name. And when it arrived, it was her mom's name, who had passed away from cancer. And she was just like, "Oh my God, like this was my mom's name." Like, out of all the stuffed animals this lady picked, like that was the one she picked. And so it's like, God, there's so many moments like that. That's just like, okay, like this is way bigger than me. The Lord's doing things in other people here. And like, what an honor to just have open hands and open doors to allow it to happen.
My goodness.
Mhm.
I knew there would be a lot that had happened. I had assumed that there would be a whole lot of love just pouring in and out of that place, but you got me. I'm a mess over here. I think I also can't help but feel the correlation between pulled together. You not being able to have the birthday you wished for Hattie. And now you get to have hundreds of birthdays a year. It's like wild to me.
I've never
It's so
thought about it
beautiful.
like that. And that, yeah, it's so sweet.
It really is. I think also I just want to pull for the part of your story where all of this could not have happened. And it was at such a time in your life where you could have just as easily thrown up your hands and said, "Not now. We don't have time for this now. I have young kids. I'm dealing with all of this, our grief." And instead, and unless you've been in that place, grief will take you on a journey and you will go through so many different phases of thinking you know what this is and that is, and then you change your mind entirely. And this could have been a moment within that time frame where no one would have faulted you for not wanting to jump headfirst into this, because it's an undertaking. And I remember from our first conversation you saying, and it just striking me how much I could tell it affected you, but you knew this was what had to happen. You knew. And then hearing you say that, I was like, man, she's determined it's going to happen. I can't wait to see it come to life. And then to now see the true miracles, we'll call them, that have come out of this, not only to keep reaffirming you and your daughter sending you love from afar, but like the lives you're changing, the children's birthday memories you're creating, the women that, are getting to come in and spread love and dote on their loved ones through you. And it's just these little microcosms of humanity that get overlooked so often when in reality, they are all that matter. And that is what I love so much about what you're doing and your mission and what this place has turned into, because it is a harbinger of trying to return a little bit back. Like, let's turn the clock back and let's try to simplify things a bit and let's get to the good of it. What is the good of it? Can we find the good of it? We can certainly find the good of it in this scenario. And I hope that anyone listening that's even thinking about starting a business, please think about the good first. Starting with the good first is always going to lead you somewhere better than where you started. And you may never, I'm sure you never anticipated what has happened and the things that are to come that you're not even aware of yet. But the impact you've been able to make, I'm sure you didn't dream it would be what it is so soon. I'm sure you had thoughts of this being something in the future, but like you're still not even retail doors open a year yet. And you are in this space of already having this momentum. Like what do you see in store for your space over the coming months and like years, and what does it feel? It seems to be it's like silly to say, but it is evolving and growing like a person. It's very relevant that there's a heartbeat to this thing that is very present. It's right there. It's like the first thing you interact with. So in that vein of things, like how do you see the space evolving as it has evolved pretty naturally since you started?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have expected the last 6 months. I knew it would be good. I knew it would be hard. I knew it would be an adjustment for our family. And like everything, like it's not all rainbows and all the things, but there is so much good. And um, I think like it's just been a good journey and thing for me just to stay like like just aware of the mission and like and the values and like hold on to those and like we don't swerve from those. Like that is the core being of who we are. And so um like I said, like we'll say yes to things that match with those. And I feel like things have already happened that I wasn't expecting that have been wonderful. And I knew we would have a story time. I didn't know we'd have 54 people at a Christmas story time. And so I feel like things that I predicted have happened and some haven't. And, some are still in the works or in the process for the future. I'm just trying to stay like open handed and open minded. And like I said, like it does feel bigger than me. And honestly, like there's a lot of the retail side of things. Like I worked in retail. It was my first job, like all the things, but learning all that, like it's been hard. And there's a lot behind the scenes that I'm like, oh my God, am I the one for this? Like, I'm drowning. There's been those days for sure. Um, and then also just like, it's okay. Like he's called us to this, and like it's clear. Like I can't, there's no doubt. Like there are days that are hard, and I've been like, oh my God, could you pick someone else for this? Um, but then like immediately I'm reminded, there's never a moment where doubt lingers that long. Um, and so when you believe in something and it's just evident that like, okay, something's happening here, and I'm honored to be along for the ride. I don't know what the next 5 years looks like. I I think that this will be an avenue to other doors that will be opened, and it already has been. Like relationships that I would have never had, friendships. I mean, even just like so sweet. I can't wait to see the employees that come on. Like they're such a gift. Like meeting these children that come in, and just so many things that were on my radar but not on my radar. And um, it's just like people that love the store and believe in it, and so like they're like, we're supporting this. To see those, like to have those cheerleaders, and gosh, I just know that they'll support what we do. I'm really excited to host community events. That is my heartbeat. And there's a book called The Anxious Generation. And something I have always been extremely passionate about is parenting and, um, like just knowing the authority you have over your children's life, and over your life, over things you've gone through willingly or unwillingly, and like not letting them define you. And so finding freedom from those things and in those things is like my why. Um, and my husband's. And so I do think like it'll eventually look like us leading something where people really find freedom. And I do feel like this is an avenue that will get us there, and be the community that maybe wants that. I think a lot of people want community that they don't know where to find it, or they've been hurt by church or religion, and so they stay away from those places. But
Yeah.
people come to a toy store, and we're seeing that. Like we're seeing people come in, and like next thing you know, they're getting prayed over, and I would have never thought that or seen that. And I don't know. There's a light about it, and there's something magical that draws people in. And in the book, The Anxious Generation, it talks about how the art of play, like when they look back, so this is the first generation, I guess, that uh, they've had digital technology from the time they were born till now. They're like high school seniors, I think. Um, so it's the first generation. So they've never had studies on like what it's done for the digital age, like to have a device in your life, from birth till all through your childhood. And so all these studies are now coming out because they have the facts to line up with them. And it's insane. Like, obviously, things are, comparison and depression and suicide rates and things like that. And when they track it all back, um, like studied this, it's like the thing they all land on is these children have missed the art of play.
Mm-hmm.
And like they've lost, like somehow along the way the art of play is like gone. And anyways, I think, gosh, I do feel like something's happening right now where like the like Lord and things that are happening in the world, like he's rearranging people and things. And I mean, right when we opened this store, I knew three people and their job changed in that month, and they didn't know why. They thought they'd be in this job forever, and next thing you know, they're saying yes to a job as a lunch lady, or they're saying yes to a job as an aide at a school. I mean, I have a friend that was like a buyer for a company, like a sports company. She had a great job maker. And next thing you know, she's going to a high school to be an aide. And I think like even she may have seen that as like for different reasons. But it was almost like the Lord was like, I am moving people around. Like he's putting life-giving people in spaces where children are, to speak over them and to love them. And the fact that he brings kids in our store every day. Um, and we get to teach them the art of play, and we get to tell them what toys, there's a lot of toys that they don't just throw them together. Like they're researching development and children's brains. There's one company that's one of my favorite, and their tagline is literally like restoring the gray matter. Like they are active about helping grow gray matter in children's brains, like that art of play. And the reason why the art of play is so important is like if a child is upset or nervous or something like that, when they play, their body allows them to process those emotions.
Mm.
What's happening is they don't play, they immediately get on a device, they immediately get on YouTube, they immediately get on a video game. And so they're teenagers that are dealing with all these emotions and they've never processed that feeling properly. And so they don't know how to process. And so next thing you know, they have all these emotions. They've never been taught how to process them or allowed the space to play where their body would naturally regulate them. And so then they explode. Like they deal with anxiety or depression or suicide, like self-harm. Like it's because they don't know how to hold what they're feeling, and they've not been given the tools and resources to do that. And so it's so sad. And um, I think that people are like curious of the effects of social media and phones and technology. And it's the conversation I have with my 12-year-old 24/7 because I am currently like not the cool mom because we don't have a cell phone. And
Yeah.
um, it's interesting though, like, I mean, and I can see it in my own children. I'm not one that's like, no YouTube, no, blah, blah, blah. There are great things about everything in moderation, 100%. And you can do both and there are gifts and things in this generation that like, they'll be able to do things on technology that no generation ever has. And that will be a gift. But there is an art of play and things like that that we were given from birth and in our world that we've got to get back to and have both. And I think there's finally a generation coming up that's like, okay, I know that's not all good. Like, what do we do? What's the missing piece? And so I think we'll see. I hope we'll see, a change in like the art of play. And I think it's a lot of people hear so many things. You hear so much on a phone, read so much. Like, so I think sometimes the thing is too much information. Like as a parent, I know I'm like, do you vaccinate? Do you not vaccinate? Do you eat? Do you eat this? Do you eat that? Do you feed your, like, do you say yes to this? Do you say, and everyone has opinions and things, and everybody has their own reasons, and you just feel so conflicted and have so much information in your head. You're paralyzed at making decisions for your life and your family's life. And so anyways, I'm hopeful to resource our community with, um, things like that conversation, why the art of play is important. Here are things you can play with your child. Like I think we have parents that don't know how to play with their children.
100%.
And so literally having parenting workshops for parents of different ages, like these are ways you can engage with your child. This is how you can play with a 2-year-old. This is what's going on in their brain right now. Most development happens in a child's life before the age of 5. 90% of their brain development happens before 5 years old. Like that is such a crucial time where their foundation for their life is being developed. And so honored to get to have a space where people are coming in with kids of that age and, you know, being able to resource. And it's very interesting to me to resource and find the right information for them and why we recommend this toy, why we don't recommend, um, those things. So anyways, I don't know. I just think I'm rambling right now, but
No, it
uh,
was all cognizant and all made perfect sense. And I
yeah,
love that you are in a place where you are not only in front of this captive audience a lot, but I'm not a parent. I'm only an aunt. And I can't tell you how paralyzing it is for me when I'm just trying to buy them a present or can I bring you a snack? Like between the food and like, there's just so many things that I can't imagine having a child that I like created and then just letting the world have its way with it because of how things are. And I think there's a really beautiful reclaiming of how I think a certain generation, it seems the 30 and uppers, are really tired of the bullcrap
Yeah.
and are really reeling in what it means for them individually to parent. And I love that we live in a country where we all have the right to choose how we want to parent and protect the littles in our life. And there's so much information out there, and a lot of people are really going with their best. But I think the biggest thing that I not only try to remind myself daily, but want to pass on to others constantly is that nothing is black and white. Everyone's experiences are different, and our experiences are what make us. And the most beautiful adage you can go by is either treating people like you did in preschool, or, you have no idea what anyone is going through, so just choose to be kind. And I think a toy store is the perfect place to start not only healing, the adults that really didn't get this information, because a lot of our generation missed out on a lot of the stuff. If you didn't have Mr. Rogers or Sesame Street and a couple of those other really tried and true good guys when we were super young in the 80s and 90s, then you may not have had any interaction with it. And I think what you're doing is so beautiful. I can only fathom the impact that will come between you and your husband and your efforts with your community. And I want to thank you for being brave to do it. And I encourage anyone that has any doubt in their soul to just like drop it and go for it. The worst thing that can happen is that you land a little lower than your expectations, and that's a great place to start from again. So just go for it and do it. I would love for you to drop 3 of your favorite toys right now that anybody can come buy online from you, because you really do have such a unique curation of toys that I have never seen online or anywhere else. So please feel free to give us like your top couple faves.
Okay. Um, oh my gosh. Anything Fat Brain Toys on our website. That's one of my favorite companies. And Jekko. And so anything made by those two companies, I'm obsessed with everything they do. And we are about to have a product in the next few weeks called the Talking Dictionary. And I think it's going to change the world. I really do. It's got to see it at market, and it's actually a talking dictionary. So it's going to be incredible for stroke victims and like people learning to speak, children that are dyslexic, nonverbal children or autistic. Like it's going to be a game changer. Hooking up, you can hook it up to a speaker, the huge book. You can hook it up. It's got a little on and off switch on the back, and
Oh,
um, it'll be able to read words. So basically, it's like inside my house, and this whole page has like pictures of everything that would be inside a house, and they just put their
oh,
finger on it, and it speaks it 3 different ways from people that have gone to school at Harvard and like studied speech and
mm,
pronunciation and all the things. And so they'll get to hear the word 3 different ways or hear a sound that goes along with it. And I think it's going to be a miracle. It's also going to teach people different languages. Eventually, it'll come out in different languages. And so these kids that learn everything before the age of 5 can literally learn another language. And I think it's an important time to do that. And anyway, I just think it's going to be so cool. Any of our plush, Douglas plush is always a good, like everyone loves a stuffed animal. It's been so
yeah.
sweet to see even my 12-year-old, like she wants a plush every time she comes to the store. Like
Oh,
she goes back to that child, because
mhm,
the world right now says put on makeup and be obsessed with skincare and all the things.
yeah.
And she is still a little girl at heart. So she'll come in. I'm like, I will buy you a porcupine with a tutu on it all day long if you want to
Mhm,
sleep with that. She has like 3 she sleeps with. And
mhm.
anyway, so precious. We have a lot of classic toys. That'd probably be my third. I don't know, fourth.
Oh,
Adults love those. Seeing them
love
come in
that.
and like
Yeah.
be reminded of their childhood is so
Oh,
sweet.
I'd have a hard time not buying for myself. I already know that because I see
Oh,
several things and I'm like, I'm 39, okay?
yeah.
I could get it from my niece and nephew.
No, it's
um, so I have a final question that I always ask, and I've asked you before, but I'd love to ask you again. Kelsee, how do you make your life rich?
hmm, appreciating where I'm at, like the joy of today. There's always going to be more, and you're always going to want more and crave more as you grow and develop. But just know, like there is joy in today, right now, happiness, like in this hour, and just being reminded and content with that.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much. This was so fun. I'm so thankful for everything you shared. It's been so enjoyable to just see everything come to life. I cry constantly because of your Instagram account. It just really touches me. And guys, I hope you will check out all the links in the show notes. Listen to the last episode as well, I guess the first episode. And then stay tuned. There's going to be some fun things happening. If you're anywhere near Hattie's, it might be worth the road trip to go check out the store. It's so beautiful. But absolutely check out online. You can reach that anywhere in the world.
Yep.
And thank you, Kelsee. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.